Hi everyone, loads of you. How are we doing? So like Golden said, my name is Gary and he's asked me to come in and try and inspire you, right? I don't know how inspiring I actually am, but I'm going to cover off my journey from when I left college to running a digital agency right now. I guess you lot are kind of doing video or design or radio, media studies, etc. Is that roughly what you're doing? Film and TV. Okay, cool. That's a great loud answer from the back there. Thanks. So before we start, if you want to scan this, this will go straight to our YouTube channel. You'll see a whole bunch of content that we already create. And follow along, you'll see probably the video that we do today. So if you want to kind of save all that kind of stuff, but we also create our own internal content. So we make programs for our audience to help sell our products. So we do podcasting, we go out on the streets of London and start interviewing people like chicken shop dates and stuff. Not as cool, but that kind of shit, right? That's the QR code there to take you to the YouTube channel, cool. So today I'm gonna cover off who I am, who are Capital Content, so that's the digital agency that I run at the moment. And we'll cover off kind of my career journey, 3 tips for starting a business, and then open up the Q&A. So this is really going to take about 15 minutes. I'd rather you ask questions and we have a chat. If it's boring, let me know. We'll just fucking crack on, all right? So who I am almost wearing exactly the same there. I'm a 42-year-old hipster, right? I'm a creative by heart. And what I mean by that is that over the years, and I'll show you soon, is that I was a salesperson, right? I left college, 16, 17, not many qualifications at all. So I went into sales, but during that time, over those next few years, I had like a stolen copy of Photoshop, stoned, making posters for my mates that played in bands and shit like that, right? So that was my creative stuff. That's what I did outside of like sales, which was all I could do because I didn't have any qualifications. But fundamentally, I'm an introvert masquerading as an extrovert. I hate people, right? I hate doing this kind of stuff. I hate going to house parties. I fucking hate everyone. I don't like group settings, but I understand the value in doing public speaking and talking to people and stuff like that. One, for my own mental health, but really for the business as well. You know, I'm talking in front of you guys, I'm recording it, and I'm able to then push those videos out over social to help raise my personal brand, blah, blah, blah. But the reason I bring that up is that you don't have to be an extrovert, you don't have to be a big, loud, bearded person, right? You can be that quiet person and still start a business, still be a freelancer, wherever it is, without having to talk to loads of people, because I hate talking to people, right? One of the key things that I did was I found out where the shit that I wanted to do myself, I did, like be all the creative stuff, but then the talking to people or the accountancy and HR and all that shit, I hate, and I'm no good at it. So I've got other people to do it for me. That's the key, right? The art of management is delegation. So this battery's running out of control. Okay. Who are we? So we are Capital Content. Our tagline is social first storytellers. Basically what we do is we create video content for social media. And we have our clients are anything from a drinks water bottle, tinned fish brand to a lawyer, right? It's really varied. And what you'll find is that the people that are making the content now, all the video content specifically, are like the businesses on the high street. It's not the BBCs and the Netflixes. Yes, they make content, but fuck man, there is so much opportunity out there to be a freelance videographer or freelance editor or designer, because there's so many small businesses out there that want to create content, and you can go out and charge £200 an hour, you know, on this kind of stuff straight out of college. It's easy. I say it's easy. It's taken me fucking 20 years, right? But we are a digital agency based over in Surrey, and we do video, photo, social, audio, and design. And when we started, we were just video. So it was just me sitting on a desk. Actually, I'll go into it in a minute, I think. Yeah, cool. So now I'll cover off how I got to where I am over the last, I've been working 20 years, which is embarrassing, but my career journey where I've made specific decisions over the past 10, 15 years to be able to get to where I am, right? If you've got any questions, obviously put your hand up, but we'll have a Q&A at the end as well. So before I went and worked for Vodafone, I was actually a removal man, an estate agent, and a factory worker, right? I literally just cut wood in a fucking factory. I left college with very little qualifications, couldn't be asked, stoned all the time, I didn't really want to work. And I worked for a company called The Link, which is a bit like Carphone Warehouse. So I was effectively selling mobile phones on the shop floor, right? It was awful. Saturday morning retail in a mall, right? It was hideous, right? We've kind of all been there, right? But what I loved about it was innovation. I liked the buttons, and it was around, again, 20 years ago, right? It was around the time where mobile phones were being used by, I want to say kids, but youth, right? 20, 25 years ago, obviously there's no iPhone, right? Definitely no YouTube. And what was happening was adults had mobile phones, but the kids didn't. It just wasn't a thing, right? And this was at the boom, a couple of years boom, where kids of like 14 to 16 were allowed mobile phones. Their parents were giving them mobile phones. Fuck, it makes me feel well old. So anyway, I was working for these guys, and then I went and I moved from selling mobile phones to like a consumer, and then I got a job at Vodafone, and actually this was like a business to business stuff, and it was actually up in Canary Wharf up in town. And I was looking after like massive banks, HSBC, Goldman Sachs, also WPP, the big creative agency. And when I was working for I was working for Vodafone on behalf of all these other companies. And when I was working for all of them, I kind of got like this buzz about myself, and I almost had like an epiphany. Let's say I was 25, 26 at this point, right? And I was like, okay, cool, man, fuck it. I'm gonna grow up now. I'm gonna go out and actually get a job, right? So don't feel like you need to, as soon as you get out of college, have your shit together. You don't need to. I didn't do it for 10 years, right? My regret is I didn't do it earlier, but you don't need to at all. Anyway, I had this buzz about myself, and I was like, okay, cool, man. I'm gonna set myself a BHAG, and it's a really corporate, fluffy thing, and it's Vodafone's way of setting goals. A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And what it's supposed to be is a massive goal that you're never going to achieve, but you constantly strive towards it to achieve that goal. And everything that you do helps improve yourself doing it. So I set this goal of being a leader in a creative organization, because I was a creative by heart. I loved all of that stuff, but also wanted to be in charge, right? So for Vodafone, the first step that I took was that I needed international business experience, right? I needed to be able to work overseas to kind of put that on my CV. So then I whittled it down to 3 different countries. Had to be English speaking. I had to make it easy for myself. So I picked between Australia, America, and New Zealand. So America's really difficult to get into, right? Fort Knox, right? Australia's full of Australians, and I went to NZ. 3 months later, I moved to New Zealand and stayed there for 10 years. Blinked and it fucking went super quick, right? For the first 5 or 6 years, I worked for Vodafone, climbing up the ladder, medium business account manager, corporate, global, service manager, blah, blah, blah. Then I fucking burnt out. I was doing sales so hard. It was a corporate environment. I hated it. I was wearing shirt and tie. And yeah, I really didn't like it. So what I needed to do was I got all of that international business experience and sales, and understood how businesses worked. I then took a sidestep into a company called iTicket. Now this was my first specific decision to move away from sales and into marketing. So iTicket is a ticketing company like Ticketmaster, but a New Zealand version of that, right? So I was at that point then head of sales and marketing. Bear in mind, this has taken me like 8 years to get here, right? I was head of sales and marketing for Australia and NZ. And what I did was, not only was I selling tickets or selling events, I was also selling marketing services. And what this allowed me to do was put marketing on my CV, because I've got no marketing, like actual marketing experience. I've got no actual marketing qualifications. Like you guys will have film and TV stuff. I had fuck all. I had nothing on that. I just was stoned in my bedroom with a stolen copy of Photoshop. That was the only marketing experience that I had. I can't put that on my CV. So I managed to have marketing put onto my CV through this role. I took a pay cut knowing that it was towards my big, hairy, audacious goal of being a creative leader. Then an opportunity came up at a creative agency called Frontside Media. They needed a sales director. And this was the major step, right? So I moved, I had all my sales experience, had a little bit of marketing experience. I had that on my CV so I could name drop some shit. But then I moved over to Frontside Media, who were a digital agency that focused exclusively on action sports, so snowboarding, mountain biking, BMXing, all that kind of shit. And it was fucking cool, man. Like, I really enjoyed it. I was there for like 2 or 3 years, and now I was a sales director in a creative organization. I'd almost reached my goal, and every step that I took, regardless of whether it got me more money or more responsibility, it didn't matter. It was always towards this massive goal of being a leader in a creative organization. So I had a great time here. Then I moved from sales director to GM, and then I met my now wife, moved back to the UK, and started Capital Content. So what happened was, New Zealand's a really small country, right? 4.5 million people. There's not that many people at all. I had a great time. I don't like the beach so much. I don't like the water, so it was a bit lost on me. But you're always like 20 minutes away from a banging beach, right? It was a great way of life, but there wasn't that much scale of economy. You know, there's no eBay, there's no ASOS, there's no Amazon. You know, they have all their own things, but it's a ball ache to get anything sent over there. But when I came back from NZ, I was telling people all of the stuff that I had been doing with Frontside, and they were saying shit like, you know, oh, this is so innovative. You know, we haven't thought about this. You know, you're years ahead. And what had happened is because New Zealand is so small, there was only so many dollars to be spent, so the agencies had to be really innovative to try and capture those dollars. And so the stuff that I was doing in NZ like 10 years ago, people are only just starting to do now for video content in small to medium businesses or brands and whatnot. So that's kind of where Capital Content came from. And so I started just me, right? It was me on this desk, laptop, shitty old camera from a mate, and first day, and what I'd done is I'd managed to get together through a couple of friends who invested 3 months worth of cash to pay my bills, right? I had rent, bills, eat and drink, a little bit of weed, and I needed to cover those bills for 3 months, right? So I had enough cash to be able to not win any jobs or any gigs for the first 3 months. And then sat down at my desk, I was like, shit man, first day. Like, it was difficult to, obviously, being in your living room. This was way pre-pandemic, where it's not kind of common now to work in your living room. I was at the desk trying to avoid watching Netflix, eating toast all day, and hustling for my first job. All I was doing was emailing and stuff, you know, trying to get that first one. And I still remember now when I got my first job, I was on the way back actually from a public speaking gig. On my way back, got a phone call on the train saying, hey, we need a videographer. And it was always me, it's always just me, but I had this goal of being a big agency. At the time, effectively, I was a freelancer, right? That's what I did. But I had the thought of in 5 to 10 years' time, I'm gonna run a big agency with loads of people, it's gonna be fucking cool. So that's the journey, right? I left college at 16 with very little qualifications. I was a creative by heart, but a salesperson by trade. And I specifically made decisions over the course of 10 to 15 years to be able to then run my own business. You guys may be able to do it sooner. I didn't start until I was 26. You don't need to have your shit together at all right now. DOS for 5 years, it doesn't matter. But this was the path that I took. It could be quicker. I could have started earlier. So I'm 42 and I've only just kind of got here, right? You've got loads of time. But now I want to cover off just 3 specific things that I did that I think you guys could do when you go to leave college to be able to get cash in your pocket straight away, and fucking loads of cash as well, because it's really high ticket stuff. Like I said, £200 an hour, you know, you spend 8 hours, there's £1,500 plus, right? For 1 day's fucking work, amazing. So tip number 1, do charity work. 2 reasons, right? You need to have experience before you go out and approach a client, right? You need to say, yes, we've done loads of work for X. You won't have any of that. You know, won't have a portfolio of work. So if you can do charity work, not only is it good karma, right? You're giving back to the community, but you also get to do free work for that client, and therefore that goes then into your own portfolio, and you can use that as experience. Do 3 different bits of charity work. We try and do one like once every couple of months, right? We did one recently for a food bank. And what it does, it gives us the ability to kind of talk about it, a bit of virtue signaling, try and avoid that. But also you give karma, you know, it's good karma, right? You give them back. And it adds to our portfolio, it adds to Charlie's portfolio when he gets to put it on his highlight reel. So charity work is a great way to increase your portfolio without having to sell to anybody, right? The we strategy. It was always just me, right? For the first couple of years, I was sitting behind my desk and instead of writing in emails, I will be there. I'm going to do this. It was always we can do this, we can do that, because it gave the perception that we were a larger organization, and therefore then more trust was put in. So any emails, any communication, anything that you write on your own website or your own Instagram as a bit of a portfolio, whatever it might be, we do this, we do that, because it gives, perception is reality, right? It gives you that perception that gives, the audience the perception that you are larger. And the last one, absolutely have a BHAG. Again, you don't need to have your shit together at all. Definitely create a big, hairy, audacious goal, a massive goal that you think you'll never achieve, because you constantly push yourself to try and get to that. Goalposts might change, goals might change. It's not set in stone. You could also just give it all up and do something completely different. You don't have to do what you want to do, right? So absolutely set a massive goal and just kind of make conscious decisions each time you move to different jobs. There's the QR code again if you missed it, and that's about it. So questions? Anyone got any questions? Is there anybody that is about to leave college that wants to start as a freelancer? Yes, mate.
What was the personal sacrifice that you made throughout all those years?
Fucking hell, wow, that's a tough question, isn't it? Personal sacrifice. I left the country for 10 years. So I left all my friends, all my family. I knew no one in NZ. So the personal sacrifice was to advance my career from an international perspective, is that I left everyone behind for 10 years and everyone grew up. I became detached from my family a little bit. I didn't see my friends. I came home a couple of times. I'm scared of flying. And it's 2 12-hour flights just to get to NZ or just to get back to the UK. So that was an awful part of it, right? But the sacrifice I made was that 10-year bracket where I left the country. And not just like leaving the country an hour away. I was 2 12-hour flights away. I was fucking miles away, right? So I emotionally moved away from my family and emotionally moved away from my friends to focus on my career. I don't say that you need to do that, but that was my sacrifice. I had to put my career in front of everything else. But it came out good in the end because I met my wife. I've now got 1.5 children. And I'm running my own business. So it was, it's only because I've DOSed for so fucking long, right? The first 10 years, when I left college to when I started this career, I did nothing. I was a scrow, I was at the bottom of the ladder, I didn't care, DOSed about spending money at the pub, right? It was at the time of 26, I was like, no, now I need to make a fucking decision, I need to crack on. And that's why I dedicated and sacrificed family and friends to live in a different country for 10 years. And I had a great time, and I've hit my goal. But yeah, I did sacrifice a little bit. Fucking good question. Gee, it's a bit early for that kind of stuff. Anyone else? Yes, mate.
How did you get work at the start? Would you go to like a small business and be like, do you need an advert?
Mm-hmm.
And then now they come to you?
Yes. So there's 2 parts to that, right? The first time, when I first hustled, I was emailing fucking everyone, right? And I did a bit of charity work, did free, like pro bono stuff, right? I would do stuff for, I would ring up like a hairdresser and say, hey, let me just make a video for you. Or let me take some photos. But also, it's that little black book, right? All of your friends will all be working in companies right now, and you can ring them up and say, hey, mate, come on, get me the email address of the marketing manager of the company that you work for. I initially tapped up my little black book of my own friends and my own network. And then I also did charity work to kind of get the portfolio together. Once I had a bit of work and had a bit of portfolio, I could then start properly approaching, emailing people or chucking, sliding in their DMs on Insta or whatever. Now, the way that we generate incoming leads is through my personal brand. So for example, we're filming this whole talk, right? I do public speaking to give back to the community, blah, blah, blah. But actually, I do it to generate revenue. Now, none of you guys are going to buy a $3,000 video from me, right? But what we do is we'll get this half-hour video that we've shot, we'll cut it up into like 8 tiny little videos. Those 8 little videos that go out over my LinkedIn page over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Someone will see that I do public speaking or the fact that we do video content. They will then come to me and say, hey, can we use your business to generate video content? So although you guys specifically aren't going to buy products from me, the content that I create from whatever I do will go out over my personal brand, and then that should then increase incoming leads, right? So LinkedIn, I'm actually doing a talk over at Mid-Kent College. No, sorry, Maidstone Girls Grammar School. There's a big event over there, Aspiration Digital, for people getting into the creative industry. I'm doing a talk over there in a couple of weeks about how to make the most of LinkedIn. I know it seems like it's an old person's platform, but I generate easy, maybe 10 grand a month, purely just posting once a day on LinkedIn. So it's really important to focus on LinkedIn now, because the organic reach on that kind of shit, especially if freelancers going into film and TV, that's where everybody hangs out. That's how you get in front of the right people, you know? Good question. Anyone else? Yes, mate.
In terms of money, was there any like proper struggle when it came to putting money into the business?
I actually got a couple of friends who invested. They had a bit of spare cash. I said to them, hey, here's a business plan. If you give me X amount of money, I will try and turn it around in the next 3 months. So I was very lucky in the sense that my mates gave me a bit of cash. It wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it was a lot of money, but it was just to cover my bills for the first 3 months. And then it was purely on me to generate revenue off the back of that. So if you're living at home at the moment or your bills are relatively low, now is a good time to start your freelancer, approach, because your own costs are low. You don't even need a website. You can just run it all from Instagram, right? It was scary, right? Squeaky bum time. It got to like month 3 where I'd only won one job. But it all just started to fall into place. Jobs were coming in, people were paying invoices. Once you do a good job for one, people get recommended for the next. I literally had a phone call 5 minutes before you guys came in from a guy never spoken to before, and he said, I saw the work you did for X, I want you to do it for me. And that's how it works. It just snowballs or dominoes from there, right? You just get more and more work. But it is about, I call it bootstrapping, right? Self-funding your own lifestyle. But if you can just get, one job a fortnight, you'll bring in 2 grand a month, and I don't know how old you are, I'm assuming 17, 18, 19, right? 2 grand a month at that age, living at home, fuck me, boozed. But yeah, it's good money, it's really good money, but there is a bit of effort at the beginning, doing charity work, and hustling to try and find somebody, speak to your friends, that kind of stuff, Get a camera that can shoot 4K, 50 frames a second, mate, you'll be smashing out 1 minute videos left, right and centre. Cool, that's it. Thanks very much. Cool.
Thank you very much, Gary. Sure, guys, no more questions? Ashley? Emma? Oh, okay.
Go on, mate.
When it comes to making videos, what audience do you branch to?
It depends on the client, right? Do you mean the videos that I make?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the people that I need to get in front of are marketing managers, because marketing managers buy my services, right? So for example, let's say KFC, we drove past KFC, so there was a marketing manager there. What I'll do is I'll go and connect with the marketing manager for KFC, then I'll start creating video content that he or she wants to see. They will want to see how to sell more product in a fast food chain environment. I will then maybe, for example, do a public talk and say, well, in the retail space, really what you want to look at is telling stories. I think instead of saying, buy the burger, what you want to do is say someone is doing a paper round, they've saved up their money to buy the new McSpicy from McDonald's, and then you see them doing the paper round, you see them going into McDonald's to buy it and then go off again, right? So the content that I create is always about what my audience wants to see, not what I want to see, Like once you scan that, I take you to Capco Originals. Like I said, we do, me, Charlie, and our head of video, we do a podcast on mental health. It's got nothing to do with videography, photography, graphic design, or anything like that. But what it does is it gets our video content in front of the audience that we want to get in front of, right? No one cares about what settings we use on a phone, on a camera, but what they do care about is men's mental health in the workplace, right? That kind of content gets in front of the audience, and then people start ringing me up, So if you do start making your own content to help promote yourself, think about what your audience wants to see, not what you want to see, Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. And this whole thing is being recorded, right? So we'll give it to Golden, he'll put it up on the website, I assume, and then you can kind of watch it at your own leisure, right? Cool, how exciting. That's it.